The world just witnessed a dastardly and cowardly act of terror. This act has shaken up anybody and everybody, not just in the Kashmir Valley, not just in India, but the entire world. The Kashmir Valley has been witnessing a sudden splurge of tourism ever since the abrogation of Article 370. Each passing year, the number of tourists visiting the valley has been steadily increasing and actually achieving record numbers year after year. Who should have a problem with this? The tourists, as far as they are concerned, they get this magnificent opportunity to witness heaven on earth. The locals who play host to these incoming tourists, this is a major boost to their incomes. They are eagerly waiting for these tourists. That is the opportunity for them to earn their livelihoods. Who else should be a party to this ongoing event? Somebody who's not so happy with either the tourists who are coming in or the locals who are earning their livelihood. Probably they don't want the locals to become independent and secure their own lives and take charge of their own families and their incomes. A ghastly act of terrorism which happened in Pahalgam, where about 3 or 4 terrorists swooped down onto this place named Mini Switzerland and shot the unarmed, innocent tourists, some of them point blank. The only thing what they wanted to know was which religion do they belong to. Anybody who is not a Muslim was verified and shot down. This is as per the reports, first-hand reports coming in from the victims themselves. This topic is especially too close to my heart because it's just been 2 weeks that I was myself in Pahalgam. Just 2 weeks before, I was there. All those places which I am witnessing today as part of these news media reports, me and my family, we were right there. I just wondered, what if this act had happened just 2 weeks back and I was caught in this mad frenzy? One of the important points which came up during the conversations which I was having with the locals, this is very important and very interesting as well. While, as I mentioned, most of them are so innocent, the people of the Kashmir Valley, and so good to a fellow human being. But one thing which some of them are unable to digest is that why is India administering Kashmir? Now, this is a bit of a secessionist ideology, unfortunately, which is planted very well in the minds of certain youth in the valley. Bulk of the youth, bulk of the people are only interested in their economical well-being. But when you add a tinge of religion into it, then this sparks fire. So he mentioned to me, one of those people, that maybe you will feel bad, but this is what I feel. I said, whatever is in your mind, just speak out. What they feel is that the Sheikh Abdullah has done some disservice to Kashmir by first of all accepting to accede to the Indian mainland. They feel we are a Muslim majority state. Either we should have joined Pakistan or much better we would have stayed independent. Why to join India? Well, I did give him the example of Balochistan and Northwest Frontier Province, where Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan had actually mentioned and evinced interest of joining the Indian mainland, which did not happen, and Jinnah eventually occupied these two forcefully through military intervention. So these two places were also Muslim majority people. Then why did they want to join the Indian mainland? Well, to this he did not have any answer. That made him think. Then I also mentioned to him, see, there's no such thing as being truly independent, because Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the Pakistani premier in 1947, the moment he got this so-called independence from India and the British, what did he do? He went with a begging bowl to the US within 2 weeks of the Pakistani formation, and goes to the president of the US and says, see, I've got a new country formed, but I don't have any resources to run it. Please help us. Ever since from that day till today, Pakistan has been going around the world with the begging bowl. Be it the US, be it Saudi, be it the IMF, and the latest being China. This is the eventual fate of any such artificially formed nation. I reminded him Kashmir has its roots, which runs up to Maharishi Kashyap, in whose name this place is being named. Through the ages, Sufism did enter the Kashmir Valley. People got drawn into it. Sufism is that segment of Islam which has got that element of spirituality, which helps it to closely imbibe with the Indian cultural ethos. And that is what had been thriving in Kashmir, which is why it was that wonderful place which it always had been, until the Wahhabi faction took charge in certain areas of Kashmir, which being the extremist version. Then coming to the cross-border terrorism, he did mention to me that the Indian government and its agencies are fully active in Kashmir and everything is under their control. Ever since after abrogation of 370, everything absolutely is under their control. Then why should this cross-border terrorism still happen? So he actually was trying to make a point that it is being done with the permission of the Indian government to gain some brownie points for elections and things like that. Especially in case of Pulwama, he tried to mention the same thing, which even some local politicians sitting in Delhi also tried to pull a fast one by mentioning that. Well, to which I told him, the recent infiltration of terrorists which happened in Israel, a very, very small country, just as big as 2 or 3 cities of India combined together. That's all the geographical stretch of Israel is. And an extremely vigilant and technologically advanced nation. Being so, how did these terrorists infiltrate into Israel? If that can happen in Israel, don't be too surprised if it happens in India through the cross-border. Also, the Indian security agencies have, or rather haven't, curbed freedom of the local people to any possible real extent, as would any so-called occupying nation would do, as China had done with an iron fist over Tibet and still continues to do so. The Indian armed forces have given enough freedom to the locals. In fact, when I was looking around the places, one thing which I actually noticed is that it would be so easy for, God forbid, for any such terror elements to rather freely move, because nobody's really frisking you anywhere. On the streets, while you can see CRPF Jawans moving around, they are rather, I would say, sitting ducks or so for any terror attack. They are not catching hold of each or every local and frisking them, checking for weapons, trying to check who is having some leaning towards cross-border infiltrators. Nothing as such. They are just here to safeguard and secure the lives of the Kashmiris. And they are putting their own life at stake. They have got families back home. Leaving them, they are here on duty. You just can't brainwash them in a day or two, because they are way too good human beings. If you have to do that, you have to be so well planned, so well organized, and perseverant. And that's exactly what Pakistan has done. And India couldn't do to avoid this or to reverse this brainwashing. We actually lost the plot, and that is why we have always been on the defensive as far as Kashmir is concerned. Such people, how could anybody encourage them into terrorism? Why should there not be peace in a place where these kind of human beings are living? Through my journey, I also had an opportunity to visit the exact spot where the Pulwama attacks had happened. I had actually requested my driver that I want to visit this place. Almost my eyes were filled with tears when I actually saw that spot, and I just named it for the sake of it as Shahid's spot. 44 of our brave army jawans who were martyred there. Again, why did that happen? Because every convoy of the CRPF or the army, whenever it passes through, no civilian vehicles are allowed in that particular stretch. But there had been multiple complaints coming in from the locals that each time they are being bothered whenever an army convoy is passing through. And this very occasion, the army actually allowed civilian vehicles also to come in, and that is when an RBX laden vehicle entered the convoy, and what happened next we all know. So the army has been extremely considerate, the CRPF as well. Whenever I've been seeing those Jawans and the CRPF personnel on duty in the valley, I actually felt very bad for those people, for the CRPF Jawans. All these people coming from the different parts of the Indian mainland and doing duty in this kind of a place, which while it is serene, but the weather-wise it is also harsh, and you never know when the bullet of a terrorist finds you. Few years back, I had actually visited Tibet, which is today China-occupied Tibet. It is Chinese territory. What you see there, on each and every house, how much ever small a hutment it is, or whether it is a villa, there are at least a minimum of 2 or 3 Chinese flags on top of each of these structures. That is China's method of trying to imbibe the idea of China within each of these Tibetan homeland houses. Coming to the present, how much more are we willing to be patient? How long are we going to accept this nonsense? Are we in a mood to put an end to this? Do we even know how do we go about finding a solution to this menace? On the western or the northern front of India, this is what happened now. And on the eastern front, what has been happening in Murshidabad, that's also something the world is taking note of. Harmless human beings, innocent human beings, are being targeted. They are rounded up and they are getting massacred. The fundamental right to live is getting compromised. How long is this population, this innocent population, going to bear this brunt? Now, let us talk solution. First solution, which I would like to propose very, very humbly. India needs to take back POK. Now, why do I say that? Everybody is kind of talking about it for quite some time. There's a resolution of the Indian Parliament that POK belongs to us and we will put in every effort to take it back. Well, that is there. But why exactly and how is it going to help, especially in these kind of situations? Please understand the geography of Kashmir. 1/3 of Kashmir, the western front, the northern front, is occupied by Pakistan and is called as Pakistan occupied Kashmir today. The distance between Srinagar to the LOC is about 100 kilometers. Gulmarg and Pahalgam are two tourist hotspots. Gulmarg is right at the LOC, hardly 4 kilometers from the LOC. That close it is. We can't have the capital of Jammu and Kashmir, which is Srinagar, lying just barely 100 kilometers from the LOC. What will actually happen if you take back POK is that you put the ball right back into the Pakistani court. Why? Because the international border will now become synonymous to the LOC if you take back POK, and the capital of Pakistan, which is Islamabad, will now stand only at 60 kilometers distance from the international border, which is from Indian administered territory. The capital city of Pakistan being just 60 kilometers from the Indian administered territory will perennially put Pakistan on the back foot. This is the very reason why I would propose that POK has to be taken back. We have got two very important Pakistani cities which are going to be very close to the Indian border. The second one is Lahore. Pakistan would never really cause a skirmish on the other side of the border, which is in the proximity of Lahore, because they would never like to put Lahore under threat. Same way, when it comes to the proximity to Islamabad, today they are sitting pretty because there is POK in between, which they control. Take back POK, redraw the lines, get Islamabad to be positioned just 60 kilometers from the border. They will have to be on the defensive forever. This is solution number one. So, point number two, once you take back POK, you don't know what kind of people you are going to take into your stride. They have been living under Pakistani occupation for last 70 years. Are they going to be assimilated into the Indian mainstream? What about our cultures and our ethos? Will they be able to integrate with us? Looking at the public of Srinagar and the Kashmir Valley, I feel that if India really puts in some strong efforts to integrate them very well, curb the menace of extremism, disallow jihadism and Wahhabism to spread through the blaring of the mosques on Friday or through other means which the religious extremists would be doing, curb that menace, put a full stop to that, prevent the youth from getting in touch with these kind of elements, you are halfway done. Similar methodologies you can also adopt in the newly acquired POK. Second thing, the very population within POK is much sparse as compared to the geography which currently that area controls. It is a sparsely populated place as compared to the Indian Kashmir Valley. Secondly, with the downfall of Pakistan economically, POK has got nothing to get from Pakistan. If anybody can do anything for them economically, it is India. Now, still you are not there. These things will take you to about 70% of the solution. Still you have a big chunk of 30% of the remaining solution to achieve. You need to hit indoctrination, religious indoctrination, right at the core of it. Now, there are certain verses within the Quran which these religious extremists would always take benefit of. Once you redraw the lines, Pakistan will be perennially on the back foot and on the defensive. Again, when it comes to certain tenets from the doctrines, that is the religious books, the Surah 2:221, 9:5, 3:151, or 9:29. All of these are extreme versions. Some of them actually call for the killing of kafirs and the non-believers. Now, as an innocent Muslim youth, once you have subscribed to a certain faith, which has been passed on to you from your parentage. And when you are being constantly threatened that you will be treated as a disbeliever or a non-believer if you don't adhere to all the verses of the Holy Quran, what is the choice that you have? You are left with no choice. You have to adhere to it as well. If nobody is around you to brainwash you, then maybe you have a lucky escape. But if you join that kind of company and you make yourself available for indoctrination, these verses are for real. The verses which I just mentioned, they are for real. Then, and if you are being told that if you are not following this, you are actually doing a disservice to Allah, then what do? What are your choices? This is how the rot of religious indoctrination works. And that is how, not just in Kashmir, rest of India, and in different parts of the world, how extremism propagates. These verses, which can instigate any innocent youth, these are also well spoken in wide forums by none other than the religious scholar Zakir Naik, who is actually one of the award winners from Saudi Arabia for doing maximum service to the cause of Islam. So he's an acclaimed and acknowledged person. When that kind of a person himself is speaking things on camera, it's very difficult for the youth to prevent indoctrination for themselves. This is what we saw even in Bangladesh, where the investigative agencies clearly mentioned that Zakir Naik videos were being viewed by those terrorists. What does the Indian government need to do next? Monitor all educational institutions, monitor all madrasas, which are also part of the wider ambit of educational institutions. Appoint certain credible, responsible people to see what kind of education is being imparted. We just can't give a free hand to such elements any further. Education is the gateway. If it works for you, you have a solution. If you allow it to work against you, you just had it. And that's what you have been bearing the brunt for the last 70 years. The Indian government has done really nothing as far as this particular aspect is concerned. They don't want to be blamed of interfering into others' religious activities. No. You, as an administrator, if the need be, you will have to take this blame on yourself in the larger interest of the nation and the interest of that particular youth himself. Think about the mother of that particular youth. What would she be thinking when her son is getting indoctrinated and she is so helpless? Her love alone won't be enough to pull him back. It needs organized efforts from the administration. This is my kind request, and this is, I feel, the solution to be implemented in the Kashmir Valley on an immediate basis. No more bloodshed. India can't take this sitting down anymore.